for you is a piece that's aptly named Genesis, and it's by a man named William Payne. And Bill Payne is from a small town in Ohio called Ashtabula, and he went to Westminster Choir College and then went to Princeton, New Jersey, and then got his doctorate in music at West Virginia University. And I grew up playing Bill Payne's music because he was the man who started the handbell choir at the church that I belong to, which is the Presbyterian Church in Morristown, which is the neighboring town to Morris Plains. And so he started the handbell choir. He actually wrote many pieces for that choir. So I grew up playing a lot of his music, and it's kind of always stuck in my head over the years. So as the director of the choir, I like to pull in things that I like to listen to as well. And then, of course, you know, I have the personal connection with Bill Payne because he grew up in the same town that my dad grew up in, and his parents were best friends with my grandparents. So every summer, I would go out to Ohio and spend the summer out with my grandparents on the farm, and we would spend a lot of time with Bill Payne's parents. So it's a little bit of a personal connection for me, and that will not be the last time you hear the name Bill Payne tonight. So the next piece that we're going to play is called God of Grace, God of Glory. And very often handbell pieces are adaptations of hymns, church hymns. And in a church hymn, it's the same tune, the same melody over and over again, but what keeps it interesting is that there are different lyrics every verse. But when you have handbell music, there's no lyrics, but they're not just going to play the verse once. Each piece would be, you know, a minute, maybe 90 seconds long. So they do repeat, but they have to kind of keep it interesting without those words to change things up. And so what they do is they use different bell techniques, or they'll use dynamics, get louder and softer as we play different verses, try to keep it interesting. The audience would never know, but sometimes the composers will change up the time signature. So in this particular piece, it's mostly written in 4/4 time, if you know music, and then all of a sudden they throw in a couple of 6/4 measures, and they bring it back, and it's often at odd times. So the audience, again, won't hear that, but it keeps the ringers on their toes. So please enjoy God of Grace, God of Glory. The next piece that we're going to be playing for you is a piece that's called Inception. And as we play this piece, I want you to really pay attention to all of the different things that are happening throughout the piece. We're going to talk about them after we play the piece, but you'll remember that when I was talking about God of Grace, God of Glory, I was saying that to keep things interesting very often, the composers will use these different techniques. Inception is one of those pieces where they use almost all of the techniques. And like I said, we'll have the ringers explain those to you after we play the piece, but we're going to go ahead and play it first just so that you can be on the lookout. So as I said, that piece is called Inception, and it's written by a composer named Jason Krug, and it's very intense. It uses our malleting skills for sure, but it's such a creative piece in how the composer uses all the techniques. And what's interesting about that composer is he composes handbell music, he composes music for bands, he composes music for other instruments. He also is a young adult children's author. And I think that all of that creativity in his brain kind of helps him create these pieces which are so dynamic. So as I said, I was going to talk to you about some different bell techniques. So the main technique that you really heard in Inception was malleting, right? And so that's when we take the mallets and we hit the bells with them to create a short staccato sound. So Joey is going to demonstrate malleting for us. right, malleting. So malleting works well with the bass bells, with the bigger bells, but when the bells get a little bit smaller, it becomes a little bit more difficult to mallet. You certainly can mallet, but you don't have the same tone, you don't have the same sound. So they create that short staccato sound by thumb damping. And so Trevor is going to demonstrate thumb damping. Thumb damping. I don't think it was played in Inception, but it's definitely throughout most of the rest of our songs. But one of the things that we do when we really want to have, we want the melody to continue underneath, but we want kind of something over the top of it, is very often we'll shake. And so Anna in particular, with her C's 6 and 7, it's a bell that shakes pretty frequently throughout the music that we play. And so what you'll often hear is everybody else is playing the melody, and then there's just Anna up there shaking the bell over the top, which again adds this nice counterpoint to the melody. So Anna, why don't you demonstrate some shake? Shaking. So we have rehearsal on Thursday nights, 6:30 to 8:30. And you know, Thursday's towards the end of the week, and we've already had a long week, and we all have busy lives, and sometimes we come to bell rehearsal, and quite honestly, we're a little grumpy. And so the kids are like, oh, I'm going to just play this song, but sometimes they're just really frustrated. And so luckily, there is a bell technique to help them get those frustrations out, and that's called martellating. And that's literally when you take the bell and you just slam it down on the foam. So Will is going to demonstrate martellating for us. Martellating. Which on this tour can be a dangerous proposition because so far on this tour we've already had 2 bells break on us. So every time somebody's martellating in the back, I'm waiting for, you know, the big gasps. So when we play bells, very often we let the bells vibrate, right? We allow the tones to kind of blend together throughout the measures, throughout the lines. But sometimes we just want to hear that note, and then we need the note to go away, right? It's what we need in the moment, but it's not what we need in the next moment. And so you'll notice that very frequently they're bringing the bells back against their shoulders, sometimes against their chest, sometimes with the bass bells they'll do it against their hips as well. And that's just damping the bell. It's just stopping the sound. And so Sammy is going to demonstrate how to damp the bells. Damping the bells. So another technique when we want a short staccato sound, but we don't want it to be quite as short as malleting, and we don't want it to be quite as loud as, you know, a martellate. We will do something, and again, not with the bigger bells, but with the middle bells and with the higher bells, we will do a ring touch. And it's a way where we're ringing, but we're damping very, very quickly. Ring touches are how we get bruises, but it creates a really nice short sound that's loud enough to be heard, but it's not overwhelming. So Esther is going to demonstrate some ring touching. Ring touch. So we discussed how the mallets create that short staccato sound, right? And that's an important thing, but sometimes you want the short staccato sound on the first beat, but you still need that note to continue. You still want the tone throughout the rest of the measure. And so that's when we'll do something called a mallet lift. Malleting and lifting is a little bit more difficult than one would think because you have to hit the bell and lift it off the table at just the right time. Otherwise, it's just malleting the bell. And so a mallet lift is going to be demonstrated by Tim. So it's different than just hitting it, like suspending it and hitting it, because there's that initial sound as it comes off. I'm not demonstrating that well, but Tim demonstrated beautifully. So mallet lift. In a few of our pieces tonight, you'll see the ringers kind of look over their shoulders before they play something, and that's because in the next moment they're going to be using the technique that we call swinging the bell. And when you swing the bell, you ring, swing it back, swing it up, and it creates kind of that almost like the bell in a bell tower sound, right? The wow, wow, wow kind of sound that you would associate with those kind of things. And so they ring, swing, swing, ring. And there's a lot of different ways, but we're going to have Sarah demonstrate a swing for us. So it just brings the sound up and back again, so swinging. Another way we can play some staccato notes, or even sometimes, we use the malleting sometimes even when it's not written in the music, because as you can see, we have 4 bass bell players, and we have many more than 4 bass bells. And so you'll notice in the back row, well, in the front row, and this row, they're all busy, but you'll notice that sometimes they're kind of all over the place trying to get those bells, so sometimes we might, let's just make this section malleted. But when we truly need to hear the bass bells in a true staccato fashion, and it's not going to be super, super fast, we might use a technique called plucking. And that's when you you literally with your hand, take the clapper that's inside of the bell, and with your thumb, you thrust it downward so that it hits the edge of the bell that's already on the table. And it's a very different sound than a martelate or a mallet, but it's still that shorter sound. So Aiden, would you please show us plucking? Plucking. And then the last piece that we're going to the last thing to show you here is not a technique, but rather a different instrument. And that is our set of chimes. And the chimes just have a very different tone, a very different quality to them. And the pieces that use the chimes, all of a sudden, you feel like you're taken out of the initial piece, and you might still be hearing the same melody, but it almost feels like a different song all of a sudden because of that different tone quality that you're hearing. So Emma's going to play some of our chimes for you. And now, can you play the bells? What are the same notes? Play 1 and 2. So just that different feeling of same note, but it really does sound different and feel different. So chimes. So our next piece that we're going to play for you is called Overture for a Celebration, and I'll tell you a little bit about it when we finish. that piece was called Overture for a Celebration. It was by Douglas Wagner. And normally I have like a little bit of history to tell you about the pieces, or I can tell you a little something about the composers. That piece, I got nothing. It is a piece that I played my senior year in high school in 1990 on my Ringer tour, and it's just kind of always stuck in my head. And the problem with handbell music that was written in the 80s or earlier is a lot of it's out of print. And not only is it out of print, but if you Google it, if you look at it, you can't find any information about these pieces at all. So it was stuck in my head, and I was like, oh, we're gonna play this, it'll be fantastic. And then when I was writing up my notes for the concerts this year, I was looking it up, and I was like, I can't find anything about this piece. So really all I can say is that was Overture for a Celebration by Douglas Wagner, and I hope you enjoyed it, and that's really all I have to say about that. So the piece that you just heard was called Amen Siaku Dumisa. And it's a beautiful piece that's written by Stephen Cuthbert Molefe. And Molefe was a South African musician who worked with a Roman Catholic priest who had come to the area as a missionary. And the priest noticed that as he was going around South Africa setting up these missions, that very often the music that they were playing in the missions, they took these traditional South African tunes and they took these traditional South African lyrics and they tried to fit them into Western hymn tunes. And the language didn't fit the music. And very often what happened is there was a lot that was lost in translation. And so the original feeling and meaning behind these pieces really changed as they kind of put these words into music that didn't fit. So the priest, Father Dargy, he actually encouraged missionaries that would come to allow the South African musicians to create the music and then to write lyrics that fit with the South African music. So if you listened, you heard the bass bells and the middle bells, and they kept a common beat throughout, and that simulates the African drums. And then when the bass clef took over the melody, you heard the treble clef picked up these beautiful scales with the chimes, right? Which gave it that ethereal quality that I was talking about earlier, and it's a nice counterpoint to the melody. So if you think back to the piece that you just heard, the lyrics are, Amen siaku dumisa, Amen siaku dumisa. That wouldn't fit in a traditional Western hymn. You could make it fit, but if you make it fit, you lose something in it. And so you can kind of hear how that works. So the next piece that we're going to play is another piece by William Payne, and it's called Prisms. And Prisms is a really cool piece because often when composers write songs, sometimes they just write a song, right? They have the music in their head and they put it on some paper. But sometimes it has a deeper meaning, right? And so Prisms is one of those pieces. So throughout the piece, if you're a musician, this will be meaningful to you. There are 7 key changes throughout the piece. And those 7 key changes incorporate 3 different musical keys. So the 7 key changes are representative of the 7 colors of the rainbow, and the 3 keys that he uses throughout the piece are representative of the primary colors. So his words are, the way that he described the piece, is he said, the entire piece represents the array of light and color mixed together, always changing, never stagnant or dull. He used the key of G when he wrote this piece because you could use all of the bells in a 4-octave set. And so, again, if you listen, you can hear the things that he's talking about and try to imagine in your head it creating a picture for you as well of a rainbow of prisms of these music into pictures, I guess. our next piece is another Amy Baza 1990 Senior Tour throwback. And it's a piece called Rondo Pasakaya, and it's by a composer named Cynthia Dobrinsky. And this is another piece that was written in 1986. However, the difference is that this continues to be one of Cynthia Dobrinsky's most republished pieces. It is everywhere. It continues to be played by choirs across the globe, really. And so the original composition is for a 3 to 5 octave handbell choir, and it's very challenging technically. So it's called Rondo Pasakaya. The term pasakaya is an Italian term, and it refers to variations on a melody. So you're going to hear the same melody throughout, but it's different every time. And it's put over the top of a repeating bass line, and it's usually in 3/4 time. So you're going to hear that same melody, you're going to hear that bass line, but throughout the piece, there's just so many different techniques that happen. And like I said, very technically challenging, but I hope you enjoy Rondo Pasakaya by Cynthia Dobrinsky. So in just a moment, we're going to play a piece called Ritmico for you. And in the meantime, that's a little bit of a change up in the program for the ringers. So while they are adjusting and making that change, we're going to have the ringers introduce themselves to you. So they're going to introduce themselves. They'll tell you their names. They'll tell you their grades. They'll tell you how long they've been ringing and how long they've been in this choir, and then any other instruments that they play. So we're going to start with Sammy. Pass that down to Sammy.
Hi, my name is Sammy. I'm going into 8th grade this year, and I've been ringing bells for about 4 or 5 years. This is my first year in this choir, though, and I play the flute as well as the bells.
Hi, my name is Emma. I will be going into 8th grade in September. I've been ringing bells for 6 years now, and this is my first year in Walsh, and I play percussion instruments.
Hi, my name is Trevor. I've been ringing for about 7 or 8 years, and this is my 4th year in Walsh. I will be a sophomore in the fall, and I also play clarinet.
Hi, I'm Anna. I've been ringing for 9 years in total, but I've had 6 years in Walsh, and I'm going to be a senior in the fall.
Hi, I'm Faith. I'm going to be a junior in the fall. I've been ringing for 4 or 5 years, and I play the trumpet and the mellophone.
Hello, my name is Esther. I will be a junior. I got it. I have been ringing for 5 years, and I've been in Walsh for 5 years, and I play ukulele.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I've been ringing for like 7 years. I'm going to be a sophomore next year.
Hi, I'm Julia. I'm not in Walsh. I'm here subbing for someone who couldn't make it. I've been ringing bells for 13 years, and I'm going into my 4th year at the College of New Jersey, where I study nursing. And I also play the piano.
Hi, I'm Joey. I've been ringing for 6 or 7 years. This is my first year in Walsh. And in the fall, I'm going to be in 8th grade, and I don't play any other instruments.
Hello, my name is Aiden. I am an upcoming sophomore at Morristown High School, and I've been ringing for 2 years. This is my 2nd year in Walsh, and I play 5 other instruments. It's the clarinet, saxophone, bassoon, guitar, and percussion. So I like percussion the most.
He likes to show off. Hello, I'm Tim. I will be a freshman in college next year. I'm going to Christendom College in Virginia to study philosophy. And I've been in Walsh for 6 years and ringing for 6 years. And I think that's any instruments. Unfortunately, unlike Aiden, I do not ring any other instruments.
Anyways, back to being, humble. Hi, my name is William. I've been ringing in Walsh for 9 years. I've been ringing bells for nine years, Walsh for 5, I think. 6, oh my God. My humble brag is that I joined 4 months before Anna and Timmy. I dabble in all the weird instruments. I'll be a senior this year. And my fun fact is that I just became my own handbell director at a different church.
So I will call out Will on that. So yes, Will just started leading an adult bell choir in a different town, and so he is not just playing with us, but he is directing as well. And I want to take this moment to kind of shout out our chaperones who are with us tonight, because I guess I could bring 12 teenagers with me by myself, but rather not. So first of all, our first chaperone is doubling as a ringer, and one of the perks, because it's a perk of being the director's daughter, is that when she needs a sub, you're on call. So Julia is mine, and she was also a ringer in the church that I grew up in, and so she's at the College of New Jersey, and sometimes I'll give her a call and she'll make the hour and 15-minute drive up to help us out. And then she has only been with us since school let out for her, so she's really only been practicing this music with us for 2 weeks. So we're very grateful that she's here with us. Then we have our other chaperones. We have Ellen Lanza, who is Will's mom. Ellen is chaperoning with us, as well as Art Martella in the back, who is Joey's dad. So thank you to Ellen and Art as well. So in the next piece that we're going to play for you, you will have a little bit of a demonstration of why Aiden says percussion is his favorite. Our next piece is called Ritmico, and it's written by Ron Mallory, and rhythm is the key word, Ritmico, rhythm. And as we play this piece, you're going to hear and see us mallet the bells, stomp our feet, play some other instruments, and bang on every imaginable surface that we can bang on without breaking anything. But it really does keep the rhythm moving, and as I said, rhythm is the name of the game for this one, so please enjoy Ritmico. Our next piece is exactly what you would expect to hear at the end of June. It is O Come, Emmanuel, the traditional Christmas piece that is arranged by Alan Lohr. And though 'tis not the season, we include this piece in our repertoire because it's just a really interesting take on a traditional Christmas carol. And so in this particular piece, the treble clef is going to be playing one thing. The bass clef is playing something different. They are never doing the same thing at the same time. One will be playing eighth notes and quarter notes, and the other will be playing in syncopation. And the way that they offset each other, I've never heard an adaptation of this particular hymn, carol, written in this way. It's a very delightful and quick adaptation of what is usually a very slow and kind of contemplative piece. So please enjoy a little Christmas at the end of June. Sometimes our mallets go flying, sometimes our folders fall off the table. We just have to roll with it, So along with playing the songs of my youth, our next piece is a piece called Fantasy in C by William Goff. This is another piece that was out of print that I couldn't find anywhere. But again, I told you the long history of the Walsh Bell Choir. So they have a bell room that has file cabinet after file cabinet after file cabinet, all in beautiful alphabetical order. They also had, when I started, some large cardboard boxes just full of music that had been played and just stashed over the years. So imagine my surprise and delight when going through one of the boxes, I found Fantasy in C. And so again, this is one of those ones that's just stuck with me all of these years. This one gets kind of mixed reviews from they like it, and then they don't like it. And we like the beginning, but we don't like the end. And so, when you work with kids, it's all about compromise. So we changed the ending, and we made it something that we all could agree on. So we hope you enjoy our version of Fantasy in C. So before we play our final piece tonight, we just want to thank you so much for coming out tonight. We want to thank you for welcoming us into your homes and for coming to hearing us ring. And we hope that you'll stick around to chat with the ringers after the concert. And so for our final piece tonight, we're going to play a piece called Pasakaya by Fred Grayman. And one of my favorite pieces to play when I was young was called Pasakaya. And it was this long, drawn-out workout of a piece. I mean, when we were done, we had sweat dripping from our brows. Our muscles ached. It was a bear, but we loved it. We loved it, right? It was like a badge of honor to play Pasakaya. And if your year you got to play it, meant your choir was okay. So this piece, Fred Grayman took the original version and he really kept the integrity of the original. If you're familiar with the piece, you'll recognize it instantly. But he also changed it. And he changed it enough that it takes on this whole new meaning, right? So instead of pasakaya, which we already talked about that term and what that means, he named it pasakaya, which is the French version. Same idea, just a different word. And he added chimes, and he added mallets, and he created something very impressive, wholly different, and still maintains the original. So you'll hear the complexity build throughout the piece. It starts out very simple, right? We start playing it, and people are like nudging each other, like, she said this piece was hard. It becomes more complex as we go, as they start to add subdivisions and chromatic scales, and it is a challenge. And I need you to understand this about us playing this particular piece, and that is, I didn't roll this piece out to them until like the end of April. Okay, so they have not had the other piece. We played Rondo pasakaya last year, right? Like other pieces we've been playing for a while. This is a piece that I rolled out at the end of April, but it sticks. There's just something about this particular piece. So please enjoy our last piece for the evening, Pasakaya. Thank you for coming. That's all we got for you.